If you're going to craft a story to meet the customer's needs, you must make sure you have a good understanding of those needs. Then we can apply stories to each step of your selling process and bring it home. Welcome to Lesson 3 of Storytelling for Sales Professionals 101. Let's talk about how storytelling fits in to various steps of your sales process. Let's start with prospecting. Now, as you may recall, there are three types of people. Suspects, that consists of everyone who breathes. Prospects, those are the people who are qualified to buy your product. And customers, people who have already bought your product. Suspects, big universe. Qualified prospects could buy from you if you do things right, and then customers, they've already purchased from you. Let's talk about how we can use a story in prospecting. In the universe of suspects, you've identified that your best prospect has a certain set of needs. What if you craft a story about someone who had those needs, they used your product, they succeeded? Now you can ask your audience, is that the outcome you desire? If so, perhaps we should talk. If you capture them with a story, they buy into that because they want to be just like the hero of your story. They will raise their hand and they will say, "Tell me more." That's the reward that tells you you know you did it right. Once they say, "Tell me more," they've opened the door for you to ask them questions to determine their hot buttons, to determine their needs. If you're talking with an operations person, they will tell you the types of needs they have for productivity, for things that are physical. Features and benefits fit there nicely. You need to find out what they're also thinking where they write the checks. Will your product help them meet a corporate objective? Maybe the person you're talking with now can help you with that. Maybe they can direct you to someone else who can give you that information. But you're going to need both sets of needs if you want your proposal to go through both areas. So once you've learned those needs, the next thing you could go to is your presentation. You can use stories for presentation in a similar manner that you use stories for prospecting. Now you're going to make your story specific to the needs that they told you. You'll tell the story of Joe. Joe had a certain need. Joe was pained by it. It was expensive. It was time-consuming. It was frustrating. He found a way to fix it. You tell the story of what Joe did to fix that problem. You've just told your buyer the story of how they're going to be able to fix their problem. By the way, your product or your service was a character in the story. You can conclude with something that sounds like this. I know that you liked what Joe achieved because it's just like what you said you needed. To achieve what Joe achieved, he used our product. Would you like to achieve the same things? If so, this is all you have to do. Sign here, we'll get the show on the road. You could use that in presentations and to go right into the close and be done. If you receive an objection, you can also use stories for objections. The way you craft the story is the challenge that Joe or Mary or Sally or whoever you want to name, the challenge that they're facing just happens to be the same one that is described in the objection you just got from your customer. Take that objection, tell a story about someone who had a similar problem. They solved it. They happened to solve it using your product. Then go back to the person who raised the objection and say, "Can you see how that was solved?" "Well, yes." "Is that the outcome you desire?" "Well, yes, it is, as a matter of fact." The way you solve that is to do what Joe did, which, by the way, is to buy our product. So we've now used stories for prospecting. We've used stories for presentations. We've used stories to handle objections. We are now going to use stories to close. Salespeople aren't fond of closing because they're afraid someone might say no. So I've known salespeople who avoid the close altogether. Their close rate was very low because of it. They didn't last in the position very long. What if they had told a story? What if they had told a story about someone, and the story is basically a recap of everything that's been in your presentation so far? The story is about someone who had a similar set of needs to your prospect. The story is about how they achieved what they wanted to achieve. They overcame their obstacles. They did it all using your products and services. You can then go back to the person that you're trying to close, and you can say, isn't that the outcome we've been talking about? Well, yeah. Well, isn't that the outcome that you said you wanted at the beginning of the meeting? Oh, well, yeah, as a matter of fact, it was. All you have to do is sign here. Let's get this out of the way and get this show on the road so you can get those benefits. More than likely, you will close the sale. You only lightly, indirectly ask for the order. You first reminded the buyer of everything they care about and how you're able to deliver on everything that's important to them. All you have to do now is ask them to commit. Shall we get this started? Well, yeah. Do you want it on next Wednesday? Well, that would be good. All you have to do to get it next Wednesday is sign right here. Let's get the show on the road. You make the signing of the order something that's incidental, something that's inconsequential. The buyer will like it. There's no tension at the close. Now that we've made the close, we're at the beginning of a long-term relationship. Stories can help you further increase your sales by further enriching the life of that buyer. We'll call all of those activities follow-ups after the sale. The first one might be in upselling, where you take the customer from the model they currently have to a larger model, a more capable model, because of what it will do to make the buyer better off. So we'll talk with them about everything they're getting from the existing machine and remind them that they have other needs that they've told you about. And you know, you have the Model A. The Model B already has built into it the tools that take care of the things that you wish you had on Model A. How important are the things on Model B? How important are those additional features? When they tell you they're very important, then you can offer them a trade-up, or if the capacity requires it at their shop, keep the Model A, get the Model B for more complicated jobs, leave the Model A for less complicated jobs, run both of them 40 hours a week or more, and make more money. That's a way to use a story to upsell. Tell the story of someone who used the bigger machine and benefited from it. They loved the smaller machine, but they got so much more out of the bigger machine. And then offer your customer a way to move from Model A to Model B. That's upselling. Cross-selling is another opportunity you have. Cross-selling is accessories. Cross-selling is adding things to the base model. You can tell the story of someone who had a similar need. They loved the base model, but they wish it had a gadget on the end that would fold envelopes. You just happen to have that as a bolt-on accessory. When you tell them the story of someone who used the bolt-on accessory and how much more efficient Model A was after they did that, you can then say, is that the outcome you seek? Well, yes, it is. To get that outcome, all you have to do is what Joe did, which was get the envelope folding accessory. So there's how you can use a story for a cross-sell. How about contract renewal? Same idea. Your customer has needs that go into the future, and the needs mean that you need to extend the great services you've been providing so far. They need the extension because they need the trouble-free operation that they get from the maintenance agreement. Tell them a story of someone who dropped it, who canceled the maintenance agreement, and then suffered pain. They renewed the maintenance agreement, and the pain went away. Ask your buyer, is that the outcome you desire? Is that the thing that you're worried about? Well, yes, it is. I want to save the money by not having the maintenance, but if I don't have the maintenance, I'm probably going to wind up spending more money in lost business or unhappy customers or lack of capacity, downtime, whatever. And you'll help them calculate the cost of that. The cost of that will be much greater than the monthly maintenance fee. You could use such a story to renew the maintenance fee, the maintenance agreement. You could use such a story to get it back. The last thing that we could use stories for in follow-up activities would be referrals. You just made a customer very, very happy with your products and services. Instead of saying, well, now that you like it, would you give us the names of 5 people that I can call? Don't go that route. All you do is offend them. Instead, ask your customer to tell you a little bit about what they're getting from the machine they bought from you. They will start to tell you a wonderful story of how much better off they are as soon as they bought the machine from you and had it up and running. You can then say, well, I'm glad we were able to serve you. Who else should we be able to serve that way? Based on your customer's story. Your customer will stop and think about it, and they will give you the information that you need. They will probably make the referrals themselves and say, well, you know, I bought from the XYZ company and I bought this machine and it's really helped me make a lot more money in a lot shorter time with a lot fewer headaches. Maybe they will write that letter and send it to someone themselves, or maybe they will pick up the phone and make that call themselves. You put them in the driver's seat for referrals, and it all starts with you asking them to tell you a story about how they've been enriched. They'll enjoy telling the story, and by the time they're finished telling the story, they'll want to tell others. That's using storytelling for all the different ways of following up. For upselling to a higher model, for cross-selling for accessories and supplies, for contract renewals or to win back contracts that have been lost, and for getting referrals from happy customers to go make other customers happy. Those are the ways to use follow-up stories. In our next lesson, we're going to bring it all together for you, and I have a special offer for you. Stay tuned.